All right. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hopefully, here we go. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. Um, all right. So last time I waited a little bit and it just kind of droned on a little bit. So I'm just going to dive right in today because to be honest with you, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on here. I want to get right into the meat and potatoes. Um, But then, I know everybody's busy, everybody's got things to do, so I'm just gonna jump right in and, be sure to check out the recording and jump on the YouTube channel, um, and there's a whole bunch of other good stuff on there as well. So today, I wanna dive into a topic that honestly, a lot of people misunderstand and it's not really their fault. It's not to their no fault of their own. There's just a lot of glamorization around this topic, a lot of commercialization, and it's just in the nature of the tool itself, and that is credit cards. If you don't have one, you've probably heard the warnings about credit cards can lead to massive debt. Don't get credit cards; they're the devil. They you have to get into debt in order to use them. You have to get into debt in order to get the rewards. They're not worth it, and this, that, and the other. But what if we kind of put that notion on its head, right? And what if I told you that credit cards can actually be a pretty powerful tool that can actually help you build wealth instead of debt? I mean, I know it sounds crazy, right? But just hear me out, okay? So what I want to talk about today is exactly what that means. And I want to dive into that and chew on that for a little bit. So, if you're just getting off of work, grab a coffee if you can, sit back on the couch, relax. Let's chat about how you can strategically use credit cards, not just to, you know, pay for things, but really to kind of get ahead financially. I know it's a weird topic, but we'll get through it. So let's dive in. So, first things first, utilizing a credit card. What does it mean? Well, me, well, let's not go there. Let's start with credit card utilization. Okay. So, credit card utilization, just so that we have a firm grasp of the basics. It's pretty simple, but it's super, super important. So basically, it's how much of your available credit you're using compared to how much you've been offered overall. Okay. So let's say you have a credit card limit with $1,000 and you go out and you swipe it to the tune of $500. So that means you're carrying a balance of $500 against that 1,000. Makes sense, right? So that means you're using 50% of your available credit. So rule of thumb is you don't want to use or you don't want to have reported, little asterisk there, you don't want to have reported more than 30% of your overall balance. So that would be more than $300 reported to the bureaus at any given time. Okay. Now, here's the kicker. So, like I just said, the lower your credit utilization, the lower your amount the balance that you're carrying, the better it is for your credit score. So, that right there debunks that myth that you have to spend and you have to go into debt in order to have good credit. It's actually the opposite. Okay. So you want to aim to keep that number below 30% of the overall credit utilization. Okay. If you really want to level it up, keep it below 10%. Okay. So keep $1,000 credit limit, keep it below $100 at any given time. Okay. So Here's where it gets interesting. You can actually manipulate this by, like I said, putting that little asterisk there. You can actually manipulate this by paying attention to two important key dates. Okay. So if you have a credit card um, bill laying around handy, go ahead and pull that out because we're going to take a look at it here in just a second. But you want to keep attention of two important dates. The first, obviously, being your due date, but probably the more important of the two is your statement date. Okay. So most people, like I said, most people are going to be focusing on the due date. But if you want to maximize your credit score, you actually want to pay down as much of that, if not all of it, before the statement date, not the due date. Okay. Because two things. One, your interest rate, and we're going to go into this here in just a minute, but your interest rate actually hits against your balance on a daily basis. So your interest accrues on a daily basis. So if you are paying against your balance, then you're actually saving money the more times that you pay uh, before you get to that due date. So if you pay off part of it before the statement date, and then the other part of it at the due date, not only do you make two payments, but you're also saving the amount of interest that would have accrued on the on the carrying balance between that statement date and that due date. Okay. Hope that's making sense. Okay. So that brings me to my first actionable tip that you can do starting today. I want to give you a couple of these throughout the call tonight, throughout this video. And so check on your own credit card situation. Okay. So take a look at your limits and write it down. Pull each of your credit card statements and take a look at your limits and take a look at your balances and really start planning on how you can get that utilization in check if it's not already. It may be already that you're below 10% or you're below 30%. And that's awesome. If you're below 30%, try and reach that stretch goal. Try and get that below the 10%. And if you've got multiple credit cards, spread out the usage. So, if you let's say you have 4 credit cards, put one and only use it for gas. Pay it off in the middle of the month and at the end of the month. Maybe the second one you only use for groceries. Again, pay it off at the 10th and the 20th. Maybe another one you only use for online purchases. If you have to buy stuff around the house for Amazon, nothing, above and beyond like overly spending. But if you need stuff, around the house for projects, for the kids for school, whatever, focus one credit card for that. And then again, pay it off at your due date or at your statement date, and then or pay part of it at your statement date and the rest at your due date. Okay, so that's your utilization. That's something to be thinking about. The next topic, I guess subtopic, if you will, that I want to talk about is a little bit more juicy, a little bit more exciting, and still keeping with credit cards. I want to talk about rewards and points because this is something that I think is exciting, like I said, but it can almost become like a trap. And this is if you could go out there, you can find all kinds of blogs about the best credit cards for travel and the best credit cards for cashback and the best credit cards for reward points and department store cards and Home Depot credit cards and Walmart and so on and so forth. And this is where it can get exciting, but it can also, like I said, it can be a little bit of a slippery slope as well. But what I want to talk about is how credit cards can really help you build wealth. Okay, whether it's cash back, like I said, travel points, a whole slew of other perks. Credit cards can literally pay you to use them. But like I said, there's a catch. You've got to play the game smart. If you're just, swiping left and right and figuring out, grabbing everything as it comes to you, those rewards are not going to outweigh the interest charges. And that's where people get in trouble. You have to spend a certain amount in order to get 5,000 points. You have to, you know, spend uh, this much within 90 days. And before you know it, you've racked up, $5,000, whatever it is. So you may be asking, well, how do you maximize rewards? Well, first things first, you want to pick a card that aligns with your lifestyle. Okay. So think about it. Do you do a lot of home projects? Do you travel a lot? If you travel a lot, look for one that has travel rewards. If you're more into everyday spending, like like I said, around the house or for kids projects, a solid cash back card might be better. Like I said, don't get sucked into a certain card just because it may have flashy rewards or whatnot, unless it actually makes sense for your goals. Because just because a card offers bonus points for dining doesn't mean much if you're trying to cook from home every day. On the contrary, if you don't travel a whole lot, well, a Sky Miles card isn't gonna be isn't gonna be in your best interest. Okay, so do a little bit of research. I've got some cards that I personally like. I've come to find that I personally like Credit One or Capital One rather. Not Credit One. Don't get Credit One. Capital One is good. There's a couple of different variants. You've got the Venture that is good for travel. You've got the Quicksilver. You've got the regular Capital One that gives pretty good cash back. And there's some other ones out there. Um, and you can use it to build. And so if you can only get a small credit limit right now, you can build it, and they do pretty good job with um, adding on to your credit limits as you are building your score. Okay, and so like I said in the first with the utilization, once you've got the right card or you've got the one that's right for you, the key is to pay in full every single month. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. If you're carrying a balance, those rewards are going to get wiped out by interest charges. Trust me, if you got a travel card, no trip to Hawaii is going to be worth 25% APR. Like it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And trust me, I learned that on the hard way. Okay. So that brings me to my second actionable tip. All right. So I challenge you to review your current cards, do some research on new ones, see if you're getting the most out of them based on how you spend. Now, I'm not talking, don't go canceling cards just because you think it's bad. It's okay to have, a number of different accounts. And you don't have to use all of them. You can use them, and there's no minimum. You can literally put $2 worth of gas or go and buy a stick of gum and let it revolve, and it will still count as much as $100 purchase or a $500 purchase. They both carry the same amount of weight. Okay. So, if you're thinking about, so that's what I would say. If you have a number of cards already, take a look and really see if they're doing what they need to for you. And then if you're thinking about picking up a new card, look ahead to your future goals. Maybe you want to save for a big vacation next year. Maybe you want to boost your holiday budget with some cash back. And that's going to bring me into my third section. But if you're utilizing them the right way, they can really help you at building up those rewards, at building up those points, and really set you up to get some pretty decent, some pretty decent perks. Okay. So, all right. So for my last one, so I had the appetizer, kind of brought in the dessert a little bit early. Now I want to kind of talk about the vegetables a little bit. And really something that nobody likes to talk about, but something that credit cards are synonymous for, and that is debt. You know, credit cards come with some of the highest interest rates around. And if you're not careful, that's how you get stuck in that debt cycle. You pay towards them. You think you have $300 sitting there on that line of credit, so it has to be spent. And then the next pay cycle, then you're paying that $300 over again, and so on and so forth. Okay. So here's the thing, you don't have to get caught up in the cycle. If you're mindful about how you use credit, it can work for you, not against you. Okay. So, like I said, that $300 out of $1,000. The golden rule here is don't spend money that you don't have. Believe it or not, that line of credit is money that you don't have. Okay. So it sounds simple, but it's easy to fall into, okay, I will pay it off next week, or I'll pay it off with my next paycheck. And that, trust me, I had that mindset for years, years, and it can snowball quickly because today's need becomes tomorrow's want, and tomorrow's need becomes the next day's want, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, those needs that you're like, oh, I need it today. It can't wait till tomorrow till I actually get my next paycheck. I'll just go ahead and swipe it. That way I can go ahead and get it. It's off my plate. Done. I'll pay for it later. And then later on, you're like, I really actually didn't need that after all. But now I'm stuck with the payment. And well, I do actually need something, but I'm going to use my debit card this time. And you're going to swipe it. Well, but I really needed to pay that credit card, but I'll pay it next month. And there you have it. It revolves. So, avoid treating your credit card like a debit card. If you wouldn't swipe, like I said, if you wouldn't swipe your debit card for that purchase, just don't put it on your credit card. Okay. Another tip, if you've already got debt, make that your priority. Okay. You can consider transferring it to a 0% credit card for a limited time or something. It's going to help you knock it out better or faster. I would only do that if you have more than, say, seven to $10,000 in debt total. If it's a couple $100, 300 or $400, even upwards of $1,000, I would not bother. Just put it into your budget. Be mindful about your spending. Accumulate the funds or pay it off little by little, and just get it knocked out. Okay. So something I want you to think about today is September 24th. Okay. When you watch this down the road, it may be November, it may be sometime next year, whatever the next upcoming holiday is, I want you to think about that holiday season from the time that you watch this video. Okay. It is so easy to go overboard with spending def- during and before the holidays. Okay. So, whatever the next upcoming holiday season is, I want you to make a plan today. Okay. Decide how much you're going to use or how much you're not going to use your credit cards, how much you're going to spend in as far as how much you make based off of how much you're bringing in, and literally create a budget within your budget. Create a holiday budget that also includes your credit card strategy. Okay. Does not matter. It could be if you're using it for rewards, if you're using it for building your credit, or even if you're using it for keeping your debt in check, go ahead and implement that into your overall budget and then stick to it. Do not sway. It doesn't matter how good a sell is. Guess what? There's one right around the corner. Okay. Like we just passed Labor Day. Like I said, we're in the end of September right now. We just passed Labor Day. Man, I missed that sell on those tools. Well, guess what? Black Friday is right around the corner. Okay. So I can put that in my budget and I can say, okay, I'm going to spend this much on those tools. But oh, they happen to have a brand new sale on some windows as well. We got to take advantage. It may not be it's going to be coming back because guess what? Next after Thanksgiving and after Black Friday, then you have Christmas. And what's after Christmas? New Year's. And what's after New Year's? Valentine's Day. And what's after that? Beginning of spring. And what's after that? Memorial Day. And what's after that? Beginning of summer sales. You have Father's Day, you have Mother's Day, then you have July 4th. And before you know it, it's back to school. And then, oh, there's Labor Day again. And it's a rotating cycle. So don't get caught up in the fear of missing out. Don't get caught up in, well, next the next sale is not going to be quite as good as this sale. I promise you it will be even better because you will know either one of two things. Either you will have saved up enough money between now and then if you miss this one or if it's not in your budget, or they may have discounted it because it's going to be not as great of news. It's not going to be as shiny as it was previously. So it's going to be either a deeper discount or it's going to be a lower price tag altogether. Okay. So I know I'm ruining a lot of marketing schemes right now for everybody, but this is just the way of it. I'm trying to bring you back down to earth while you're setting your budget so that you know when you're putting these things together, this is all that you need. And yes, things can change, but you'll know what is an absolute need. Watch my other videos and you'll know what is an absolute need based off of your shelter, your food, your clothing, your transportation. Those are your needs. Anything that's not in one of those buckets is not a need. Okay. So as we kind of get towards the end of this video, I just kind of want to recap. So we started out with utilization, 30% with a 10% stretch goal. Take a look at your budget, take a look at your lifestyle, take a look at your current credit cards and see if they're working for you in terms of rewards, in terms of the perks. If you're having a hard time getting control of the current debt, don't worry about credit cards or rewards right now. Just focus on your debt payoff plan. If you need help building one, I can help you. Okay. And then last but not least, the debt from the high interest cards. If you are, again, having trouble, I can help you. But I only know if you need help if you ask me. So feel free. I promise I'm very reasonable. I won't charge you much, if anything. Um, Basically, I want you to succeed so that you will then have the confidence to go out and tell others that they can instill their trust in me to help them as well. Okay, so there you have it. Three simple but honestly powerful ways to use credit cards to build wealth instead of debt. It's literally all about strategy, knowing how the system works, If you can stay on top of your utilization, maximize your rewards, and avoid the interest rates, these can be really great financial tools. Okay. So, like I said, if you want more guidance on how to improve your credit, I do have an ebook that will really help you with building out that strategy specifically for you. You can go to www.buildexcellentcredit.com. It's completely free. I'm not selling anything. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help you. I want to see you get ahead no matter where you're starting at today. And so if you have a friend, please share this with them. This will be up on my YouTube video, up on my YouTube channel at Dream Life Innovations. Um, but yeah, I think that's all I have for you today. And until next time, I'll see you around.